It's crazy. This is perfect. What's up there? You can get lost. Look at that. Beautiful. It's black in here, isn't it? I can't see a kink of light at all. That could have been a bit freaky. It's a dead bird. Shit. Look at that. Blair Witch Project. It's a mess. It's pretty soggy. So basically this is the only way in, this plasterboard hole. Oh, it would be a brilliant way into an exhibition, wouldn't it, where people didn't know what was going on.
Meet My Dog Size, internationally renowned artist and lover of the unloved. We also call him Paul, which is mercifully quicker. He's painted murals on walls all over the world for many years, as well as making rubbish art. Art made from discarded objects, that is. As well as transforming discarded objects into art, My Dog Size is known for his beautiful eyes. The big ones he paints on walls. You can't help looking into them. They're beguiling. And when you do, you discover that just like real eyes, each tells a different story. There's a unique narrative silhouetted in every iris. My Dog Size is a very thoughtful bloke. Via his everyman character, he puts messages of love, loss and joy out onto the streets to comfort and inspire passers-by. Now, you can't knock that. In the mid-noughties, My Dog Size started painting on found materials and leaving them on the streets for people to come across and keep. He liked the idea of previously unloved and homeless objects getting both love and a home. When he started calling these anonymous acts of kindness Free Art Friday, it went viral and became a global movement, with artists worldwide doing the same. Talk about spreading the love. He's headlined the world's leading street art festivals and collaborated with museums around the globe, as well as influential media platforms. Things were going swimmingly for My Dog Size. So why rock the boat? Seems he's suspicious of himself becoming too comfortable. He wants to challenge himself with a project that's really big and really difficult.
I suppose for the last few years, I have fallen into that cycle of a couple of shows in some different places, one in the UK, maybe one abroad. It started to become safe. As an artist, really important is that you stop and you shake things up to scare myself, and I suppose.
He began to imagine a creative scenario so ambitious and so beyond anything he'd done before that it pushed him to his limits. It needed to be something so epic that it would change the course of his creative life and be unforgettable for those who saw it. What he saw in his mind seemed almost impossible to make actually happen. But his mind was set. Call it a road to Damascus moment, or call it a midlife crisis. It was time to face the fear. To do it properly, he'd have to raise lots of money to ensure that he had complete creative control and do total justice to his vision. With his art always having fed off its environment, he pictured a big space in a derelict building where he could paint and create anywhere and take inspiration from its history and decay. And for once, all the walls he painted would be inside rather than outside. He imagined filling the space with his characters as sculptures and otherworldly installations made from found materials. He wanted the public to be able to visit and be completely immersed in his alternate reality. In effect, to step inside the mind of My Dog Size.
I started looking around trying to find different locations. I liked the idea that it was just going to be a busted up, abandoned building. That urban exploration feel to it.
6 months later, all his frustrating and often foul hours of hunting finally paid off. He made inquiries about a huge derelict building in central Portsmouth near his home and discovered that it had been a casino, ballroom, restaurant and music venue over the years, with many well-known musicians playing there from the 50s right through to its closure in the 80s.
Without even thinking about it, I'd actually been working on the outside of the building before, and I was painting on the wall without really understanding what the building was or where it was. And I've lived in this city for 22 years. I've painted on the wall, but the building didn't exist in my head.
Paul also discovered that he'd hit the jackpot with the owner of the building, Farid. Farid must have liked Paul and his plans a fair bit because he gave him a set of keys and total freedom to do whatever he liked, apart from burning it down. Big up Farid. So the relatively quick and straightforward bit of finding a venue had actually turned out to be long and arduous. But thankfully that was behind him now. The project would still be a lot of hard work, but it should be just all about the creative process from now on. Right?
I'm My Dog Size. I'm a street artist and gallery artist working based in the south coast of the UK in Portsmouth. So we're in the space for this project, which actually doesn't yet have a title. Honestly, it was the spookiest space to first arrive in, jet black. Every time I walked in, there was a new staircase that I found leading to a new place. But it was just so exciting. It was just kind of stepping into this historical world of, this beautiful parquet flooring, who danced on this floor, who played on this stage. I think someone was saying that Liberace played on the stage behind on his piano, and T-Rex played here, and the chandeliers hanging down, and the beautiful tables and people eating dinners. Yet somebody bricked it up 20, 30 years ago. Now it's just been this kind of empty place full of ghosts of the past. When the opportunity to work in this space came up, I knew it had to be far more than that. It wasn't just painting paintings and hanging them on grimy walls. It was, okay, let's bring to life something that I've only ever created in sketches and canvases and walls, I suppose.
Secrecy was essential for there to be an effective big reveal to the public and also for security reasons. So instead of documenting the project on social media, Paul made a very DIY video diary.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Is my head in shot? Let's check. This is the start of me documenting what's going on. I suppose that's why I'm sat in front of my phone balanced on 2 tins of paint with a couple of spray cans resting on top of it. So I'm here to document this journey, this new journey. Let's do this. We are in the foyer, and I've got the opportunity to take you in. And the hole in the wall that takes you to this crazy place. And it's cavernous, there's dead ends, flats, offices. It's crap. On the floor, the windows have been broken. It's I don't know, am I lost for words? I think I probably am. Can you even see anything? This is it. I'm inside. I'm not alone. Got some pigeons with me. Oh, it's so exciting. What a space. Trying to work out what can go well with these dancing sculptures and things swinging from the ceiling. Do I do something with these mirrors so they become a mirror ball maybe?
I wanted to see how I can move what I've been doing in that kind of the flat plane of an environment, see how I can actually use a different sort of space to create my work. The idea is I'm going to come in here and use this beautifully decaying space, create not just flat work on the wall that are interactive with space, but actually begin to work in 3 dimensions and begin to think about not just kind of one plane, but a whole experience, a whole immersive experience. Envelop people with something which is far greater in scope than I've done before.
That soundscape is amazing. Really want to capture that. To have the sound of the pigeons as the backdrop, and then these quiet little voices whispering from different places.
Paul was as happy as a pig in the proverbial, or as I guess you could say, as content as a pigeon in a poo-strewn derelict building. His mind was racing with possibilities and ideas. No doubt some of them were even within the realms of possibility. It's been many years since the halcyon days of Kimball's Ballroom in the 40s and 50s and its 1960s and 70s live music heyday, but Paul can feel the echoes of those epic times. The 20-foot-high vaulted ceilings remain, but only just. The building has lain derelict for decades. There's no electricity, water or loo. The roof leaks like a sieve and all the windows are smashed or boarded up. Its inhabitants aren't ball-gowned and tuxedo dancers or cheering crowds anymore. They're pigeons, rats, spiders and fleas.
Can you see it? Can you see it in the same way that I see it?
And I wanted to create that atmosphere that, you know, as a viewer, as you walk in, you hush your tone. It has this wonderful resonance of sound, which is it's almost like walking into a cathedral. You're stepping into the world of these quiet little voices. You're stepping into my head.
This is where my dream becomes reality. always had a love for the decay and the decayed, rust, rot. You know, and I'm planning to paint the walls, but should I be painting the walls? They're perfect. It drives me forward just to making sure that whatever I put in here is the best that it can be. It enhances the space. The space works. Everything, I've got to try and create something which is worthy of this space. And that keeps me awake at night a little bit. But that's exciting, and it puts the pressure on me to do the very, very best I can. And then I'm having to work in scale because it's just so vast. How do I better these pigeons on the stage? What do you reckon, pigeons? How do I better that? Oh, I'm gonna so love spending time in here. Just being in here, just turning it into what I want it to be, without taking away what it is already. A really cool day yesterday, going to the casino. It's such a cool spot. I'm so excited by it. I've changed my mind a million times about what's going in there. The creative process is a real tricky one. I've got the form of what's going in there. I've got the kind of theme of what's going in there. But every time I walk in, I've got a different idea of what I'm going to do with each panel or each space. It's so cool. I'm so excited. I'm so keen now just to crack on and to get in there and to start throwing some paint on the walls and get stuff moving.
Ideas cost money, and Paul's was running out. Fast. To make this project happen, he was going to have to ask for financial help, something he'd never considered before. His project manager, Angela, started filling in the interminable funding applications, while he began a cryptic street campaign to promote the project, which he decided to call Inside. We shelter here sometimes.
Everybody thinks it's me that paints the cans and the walls and creates these things, but actually I'm going to remove myself from the creation of the work, and I'm going to fill this space with my alter ego, I suppose. And my alter ego are these quiet little voices. It's funny, so the project is still a secret at this stage, but I'm putting clues out there where people don't realise. So I've started to paint around the city and to paint in some festivals with these little birds, these pigeons. And that came from watching the birds fly around, and they are doing like these quiet little voices have done. They are occupying this space. They found this space, they're making their home. They're going to be the painters of the cans. They're going to create the murals that you see around the streets. They're going to be the creators of it. They're going to be the community that is everything that's inside me. They're family, or they're dancers, or they're documenters, they're scribes, they're painters. They cope with depression, they cope with the excitement and fun of life. And so as I've been working, I'm kind of picking out all of these things that represent the kind of portions of my life, and I'm throwing those through these quiet little voices. Who I am, but actually in a way that removes me, the physical me, from the work. This space, like many in sort of cities and places around the world, is empty. These quiet little voices have found this space, like I have, and they are occupying this space. They've squatted it. They've turned it into their home, their environment. There are lost spaces, and yet there are people that are lost, that are looking for places to be in.
That's the sound that are surrounded by when I'm in here all the time. I've been in the studio all day and just working on a bunch of my pigeons. It seems every time I go into the casino, I'm kind of drawn towards them. I'm balancing all the time the desire to keep it as an abandoned building with making it safe to let the public in. It looks highly likely we're going to get the funding to let people in. Just imagine, it's incredible. Art and light and sound, this place full of people.
I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. Coronavirus, COVID-19, continues and will continue to spread across the world. We will immediately close all shops selling non-essential goods. We'll stop all gatherings of more than 2 people in public, excluding people you live with. And we'll stop all social events, including weddings, baptisms, and other ceremonies, but excluding funerals. I urge you, at this moment of national emergency, to stay at home, protect our NHS, and save lives.
8-10 months of work and planning and funding applications and dreaming, it came crashing down. Trying to keep within the rules are changing all the time, so that makes it slightly challenging, but keeping everyone safe. I don't know. I need to know. I have to accept the fact that the process of the way I'm working is this. As a creative, once you have this idea planted, this seed planted in your head, you want to make it happen. You've got to make it happen. One thing that felt really symbolic today was that at the end of the day, I swept up. There obviously hasn't been any sweeping up, any cleaning in there for forever. I don't know, was it wiping a slate clean, ready to start? Is it, me and a brush and a massive space and, sweeping a huge floor like that being symbolic to the idea that I'm facing this huge, daunting project, and you just got to start and pick one corner and start moving forwards and going from there.
It's the strangest thing, sweeping a floor, how sweeping a floor can lift your spirits like that. But it really did. There you go.
The pandemic has also reduced the levels of national arts funding. The money Paul thought he had secured is no longer available. So he's looking at new ways to raise funds, but they would involve making significant changes to the project.
I come from a place of a kind of punk do-it-yourself, I suppose. Everything I've done in the street art world has been about just getting on and doing it, either doing it with no money or doing it with the money that you've got. Applied for funding when COVID hit, which was a massive drop, but we have gone back and are applying again for another one. We've got another bid in. That funding is to try and make it open to the public, and I don't think it's going to happen. I'm pretty sure that's going to mean that it's not ever going to be open to the public, which is a massive hit.
Paul doesn't like having to seek outside funding, but he knows he has to, or the inside project may never happen. All the while, Paul continues to paint and create for the show.
Anyway, crack on making stuff. I wanted to somehow, in building the backstory of these quiet little voices, give them a language, a written language, a way that they can sort of document what's happening to them. So I spent ages in the studio actually, taking the letter A, working out how I could flip it and create a new font and a new alphabet, I suppose, and begin to write. And that led to the idea that I can, this project can have a really strong identity. It's the quiet little voices that have created this title inside, that have created this kind of the strap line we shelter here sometimes. Is it all about the visual image, or is it about them building the story of their life and existence in this space? It's these tiny little things that I just get completely absorbed in. But yeah, every time I go in, I'm thinking about things like that. I'm thinking about how I can take it further and push it, how I can tell stories. This whole space, there are going to be, hundreds of little story narratives and histories that I'm really excited about building into the piece. And I really hope that through the way that we present it, those things are there. Anything new in here isn't going to work, and I don't think the quiet little voices would would buy new things. They would take waste and they would use it creatively. I suppose it harks back to my, the cans that I'm known for. The idea that you take something that's a waste material that people aren't using anymore, that's going to go into landfill or get burnt, and then you can use it in a creative way. And I think these quiet little voices, if they are taking over this idea of being my dog sizes, they have to think in the same way. I'm dripping with sweat this morning, having unloaded 10 fire doors that I've just picked up from somewhere locally. I had no idea they were fire doors. They weighed an absolute ton. But that's 10 doors I've got. Do I need another 80 or 90 to get, and then painting them and then installing them? And that's one part of one room of one big project. But you can only take one step at a time. Okay, I'm just sticking the video on now. So we have been applying for different Arts Council's grants, and we have been unsuccessful on all of them so far, which has been gutting. It's meant us downsize the project and question whether we can open up to the public. That the decision has come in And I thought I'd just stick a video and open it up and see if we got it and go from there. I don't want to open it up. The others have just been so disheartening. Okay, thank you for your Arts Council lottery grants. I'm sorry to tell you your application was not successful. Having the rejection happen so much has kind of made me think that if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to do it on my own. You kind of persuade yourself that it's all right if it doesn't come in and not to be disappointed. There we go. All right, so we didn't get it.
To make the exhibition safely accessible to visitors would cost Paul thousands of pounds, and he's running out of funding options. Is he going to have to give up on his vision of public access but install the art in the building anyway? Does it count as an exhibition if the public can't see it with their own eyes?
There's part of me thinks, it's got to be the coolest thing to put all this effort into an exhibition that nobody physically sees. I kind of think that's really cool in a perverse way. But equally, how disappointing having worked so hard towards becoming an artist where everybody gets to see the work. And that was a big part of what becoming a street artist was. Everybody had access to see it. And now I'm working in a place that's locked. I'm surreptitiously walking in and out so people don't know what's going on. There's a chance that no one will come in and see it. I don't know really quite how I feel. And it's always better to see art in the flesh, isn't it? But it's whether that's going to be possible. And I can't invest too much emotionally thinking about that, I think, because if I set my heart on people being able to be in here and that doesn't happen, it's a bit of a killer. So I suppose I'm persuading myself that the intimacy of a book and a photographer and a filmmaker that can really, I can direct them to focus in on things is a wonderful thing. Maybe not quite as wonderful as thousands of people in here. It has to be something at the end of it that I'm proud of, and hopefully will reach an audience, but it may be that we're doing it through a lens.
Paul appears to have convinced himself that the show will still work if it's close to the public, and instead he will crowdfund a film and book. He'll bring in a photographer and filmmaker to record it for the public. But can he really settle for that?
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Michael, where are you now? This project was in my head and I just kind of felt, I've got to do it. Even if no one sees it, I've got to do it. So putting the crowdfunder together and giving people an opportunity to gain a reward from it, but also help make this dream happen. Building the sculptures, creating the artworks, and putting the film together, which is why we're sat here now. And it's the film at this stage that will be people's window into to what I'm doing.
I've got this project. It's kind of cool. I don't want to tell you too much about it. If I tell you too much about it, it kind of spoils it. It's the biggest project I've ever done. It's the coolest project I've ever done. I think it's the most exciting project I've ever done. But I need some help.
And of course, all the crowdfunding advice is, okay, you need to tell everybody how much you want to raise, why you're raising it, what you're doing it, what is every penny going towards. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get people to trust me that what I was doing was something that was really, really exciting for me, but hopefully exciting for them. So I sat in my studio bath with my phone resting on a windowsill and explained to people that I'm not going to tell you what's going on, but hopefully you will trust me.
Carry on. Right, okay. Please, can you help support the My Dog Size secret project I can't tell you anything about, and help if you can? Really? Shall we do it again? So on Friday I launched the crowdfunder. I've been working on the computer, trying to get it ready, record a video, get the images up, work out what the rewards are. And I think it's just about ready to launch. Feels a little strange asking people for money, but everything there is based on a reward. It's not just a matter of giving. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. It's something I haven't done before, crowdfunder. My crowdfunder is just launched. What are you waiting for? Swipe up. Come on, swipe up now. Oh, get on it, people. Swipe up, swipe up. Swipe. Swipe. Right, what time is it? 10 o'clock on Friday the 17th. We launched the crowdfunder at 4 o'clock. By 5 o'clock of a full week crowdfunder, we reached our target, and where are we? 10 o'clock now, 6 hours later, we are on £33,000. It's been crazy. I can't get my head around it at all. The dawning realisation that it's not me on this journey now, it's us. 500 people have supported the project, and 500 people are keen to find out what it is, what I am doing. So there's no backing down now. I feel very privileged and a little bit drunk, so I'm not going to record too much more now, but I'll do more tomorrow. Second lockdown's been really hard. First lockdown, I kind of thought it bypassed me and it wouldn't be an issue because I was working in the casino on my own. But second lockdown, I think it drew a lot of people down with, you know, the kind of the unknown of how long it's going to go. And we're still worried about, are we going to go into a third lockdown? Is the date going to change? The original October date was thrown out of the window a long time ago. We're in December now and it's still not happening, but we had a March date and then a backup date for May. I don't want to push it forwards any further, but I think that's going to give us enough time to make it happen. The big deer. Can you see the big deer is sort of over there behind me? He got his back to us, maybe he's a bit shy. He's sat welcoming anybody that just comes into the studio. Not that anybody is. It's normally I get a couple of visitors, but lockdown has meant that it's just me and my time. I've got my sketchbook over there. I really need to spend some time on that, getting some more character ideas together.
With no electricity in the derelict casino, Paul has spent the last 12 months working with battery-powered tools and lamps. But this is about to change.
Morning. I'm just coming in today because I think we have an exciting step towards things happening. We have power. We have a power box. We've actually got electricity in the building and light in the building, and that feels like it's a sense of achievement. It feels like it's been moving forward. It's nice to think that actually I can physically see some changes in the building, and I can physically see the way that the installation is going to form itself. We just announced another lockdown, a full lockdown this time. It's affecting my family a lot. My wife's a teacher, my son's doing his GCSEs, and other one's at university. It does affect my ability to go to the casino to work But it has a massive effect mentally on the confidence of the exhibition and whether it's going to happen. Just an announcement like this is very stressful. It's going to take me back down to a very uncomfortable level financially. And I think my head's been in the sand a little bit about quite how much it's going to cost. Obviously there's been a lack of income for this last 12 months or so while I've been making stuff for the crowdfunder and focusing on making stuff for the project. That's meant that I've not been able to do much in the way of any work for sale, and it's inevitably going to cost much more, 10 times the amount I'd hoped it would cost. And I'm having a wobble today. Yeah, I'm having a massive wobble.
We're looking at such an unstable time at the moment. It's very hard to set timescales and targets. But you know, we are now at the stage where vaccination is starting to be rolled out. There is that excitement that people are moving towards the end. It's very difficult to know where that end is. But one thing I suppose I've had to learn is that things change, you know. So I'm trying to learn to be flexible. I think we all are having to be flexible in this situation. I can at least come into the studio and throw paint and hopefully, touch wood, COVID isn't stopping me doing that. So I can drive forwards in that way. I've heard there's been a break-in over the last week or so. My worry is that there's a big pile of spray paint upstairs as well as some of the sculptures, and I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm a bit nervous about going through the whole. I had a phone call on a Sunday afternoon. We've had another break-in. Can you come down? It's kind of playing this game where you have to work out how people are getting in and trying to block those entrances.
Paul's checking to see if anything's been stolen or damaged. There is many months' worth of work in his growing installation, many murals and sculptures, as well as costly equipment. Thankfully, on this break-in, they've only stolen a couple of tools and, weirdly, a pair of painted wooden hands that he was going to use in a sculpture. Paul had originally hoped to create the inside show over 6 months, but all these unforeseen events and funding issues have added to his workload and trashed his schedule. On top of this, Paul has been working long hours in isolation and in difficult conditions, while still trying to be there for his family. It's taken its toll. He's stressed and worn out.
Okay, I'm just running down to the casino now. I've just had a message from someone to say that there's a fire, so I need to go and check out what's happened. Oh Christ, I hope nothing major has happened. I got to the studio, I set up, I got my paints out, I started working, painting some cans, happily through it. My phone pinged. Oh, I hear the casino's on fire, I hope you're okay. Which just freaked me. I just grabbed my keys, pulled the door shut and ran, phoned him up on the way, and he said, yeah, the casino's on fire. And I said, tell me, please tell me it's a casino somewhere else. Please don't tell me it's my one. And he said, no, it's just come up on the news. Oh, I don't need this. 3 fire engines, and you just can't believe the fear and the panic. Most of the sculptures are in here, most of the paintings are in here. I've been working for, 12 months in here. Okay, I'm here. It absolutely stinks. There's no fire engines. Really smells the smoke. There's nothing that I can see out the front. I'm hoping it's with a bit of land on the side, but there isn't anything too damaged here. Oh Christ, hang on. I don't know much more than what my friend was just reading from the local rag, reporting it. So I'm not using all of the building.
And there is one section that some kids in about 6 a.m, I think, had got into the building and just set fire to the rubbish that was in there. And by the sounds of it, it was going fairly heftily, but someone locally spotted the smoke coming out of the window, called the fire brigade, and it was out by the time I got here, other than the smell, which is pretty nasty. There isn't any damage to the building, but you cannot begin to imagine the things that are run through your head when you spent so long on something, and there is potential that it would have gone. I can't begin to imagine.
Oh, that was a moment. That was the trials and tribulations of putting an event on. I think I'm pumped full of adrenaline and not sure which way's up. I can't stop smiling. I think it's the relief of not having this entire project gone up in smoke. I can't even begin to imagine where this would have gone if we had. Would have made for a fun film, right?
But Paul's euphoria is short-lived. Back at the coalface, he's at a low ebb. He's having a major wobble.
My mood and my sort of creative drive is massively waxing and waning through this project. I've never done anything that I can't share really quickly, so I'm not getting that instant feedback that I do using social media, painting walls and pieces in that way. And what with that and COVID, sometimes motivation can be really, really hard. I've never not got up and gone, and got busy. I've got a work ethic, I've got a good work ethic. And I'm here today despite the fact that, I don't know, maybe someone who's looking after their mental health a bit better would say, take a day out, go home, do something nice. Honestly, the only way I can describe it is wading through treacle, knowing that there's so much to do, but not wanting to do it, not having that buzz. I don't think I've admitted that before. I think I've always gone through interviews and projects in life with that kind of like, yay, I'm so lucky, this is so great. Well, I am so lucky. And what I'm doing will hopefully be great, will hopefully be something that people like. I have these strange things, this has been occupying my head almost 20 hours a day, and we're not even close to starting.
I know at the end of this I do need to kind of give myself time to take stock of what I am achieving, what I will hopefully have achieved, and reconnect with, my family who are not seeing me, or if they are seeing me, aren't seeing me completely there because my head is in a different place. I'm doing the 4 a.m. wake ups, the panics, the sat in a room but not really being in a room. And as a creative, you do immerse yourself in projects, but when you magnify the project and you magnify the way that everybody's feeling with what's happening with COVID, it's been pretty big.
Paul's hit rock bottom. The show was meant to be ready nearly a year ago, and even if he does get it finished, the public won't even have access to it. There's no funding. All options have been exhausted. He's running on empty and feels like he's at a dead end. Is it time for him to cut his losses on this project and pull the plug?
What on earth am I doing? I can't do this. It's just so much.
So this is it. Here we are. So here I am. Inside. A vision. A throne. My throne. Etched so clearly in my mind. A ramshackle edifice built on the tower of my life. A public proclamation of naive passion. Through gritted teeth and bloodied fingers, I'll take one step in front of the next and blindly make it happen. Money-wise and funding-wise, it's been crazy. We've been waiting to be reliant on whether we're going to get funding to open up to the public and bouncing between okay about the fact that no one's going to see it and then gutted that I'm going to put all this work in and no one's going to see it. So I've bitten the bullet and decided that if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it myself, and I'm going to make it happen. So come hell or high water, I'm going to find the money to open it up to the public, which is, yeah, it's cool. To work so hard on something and not open it up to the public would be crazy. So I'm now looking at the space, thinking about how people are going to move in, how we're going to get them flowing through, what they're going to see. It's definitely becoming more real.
It's back on. Paul's reverting to the way he's always done things before, completely independently, on his own terms and entirely self-funded, with the aim of the public having access to the show. This is more like the Paul we know.
My original plan for the project was to pull some money together myself and just do it the way that I've done everything else, which is put some of my own money together, get a seed of an idea and try and make it happen. And I've never funded anything any other way than just paying for it myself, but it looked like there was going to be a way of getting some support to make this project happen, and the project kind of gained momentum and got bigger and bigger really quickly, really upscaling the project to bring 10,000 people through the door, to turn a building which wasn't safe into one where we could bring the public in. This was new for me, working in this way. I'd never imagined that someone else would help to make something like this happen, to support it. And now that's gone, I had to kind of stop and reassess the situation. I've got this project in me and I really want to make it happen. I could have just pulled the plug. I still think it's a cool project. I still, as an artist, want to make my vision into reality. So it was quite liberating when I came into the studio yesterday to think, let's go back to the way that it was. You've got to do it because you want to do it, because it's fun, because it gets you excited. I just can't wait now to get into the space on my own and start making it happen. Start getting excited by it again. Right, that's me done for today, I think. we've had a couple of days where the cleaners have been in. Look, it's clean. We have a polished floor. The stuff that we wanted to be grimy is still grimy. The old pigeon jet alley has been scrubbed and cleaned and hosed down, so we're in a much better place to be. Oh man, the floor is clean, and the carpet's clean, and we're good. Woo! Hey, I've been painting today. You see it? Where are they? One naive eye, two getting better. Painting with paintbrushes. I haven't painted eyes with paintbrushes before. Not in a really loose, drippy manner like this, but it's been good. Yeah, and I got some metal canvases that I've been working on, which yeah, I'm looking forward to get going on as well. So anyway, yeah, just thought I'd update with a clean carpet. Ba-bam. Right, bye-bye. Well, I've had a couple of really cool days actually, really exciting days. I'm feeling a bit flat and feeling like I wasn't getting anywhere for a couple of days. And then this morning had the best meeting with Handsome Dave, the chippy.
It feels like progress is being made. Paul now has Dave the chippy to help him create some of the installations and make the show space safe for the public. The spring is back in a step. One of the reasons Paul had tried for funding was to make the show free to the public. But now it's self-funded, he'll need to sell tickets, artwork and merchandise to keep the prices low, and for there to be 1,000 free tickets for those who can't afford them. This has increased Paul's workload even more. And on top of all this, keeping the whole project secret for so long is taking its toll.
Oh, I just feel like I've done so many of these little diary entries where I'm fed up and nothing's going right and nothing's going and nothing's moving, and then things have been pulled out from underneath me, and now we're on the move, I think. It's been secret for so long, and it's been nicknamed the Secret Project. And I'm so used to, as an artist, producing something and showing the world straight away that working like this is completely different. Keeping secrets really hard. Just not telling people what I'm doing, carrying on trying to keep a presence on social media without anybody knowing. And the more it builds up, the more I'm afraid to give too much away. It's back to anonymity again, isn't it? I'm not admitting to anything that I'm doing. I'm pasting stuff on the street with no association. I've taken the letters of the title of the show, which is inside, which I'm not revealing to anybody before the show, and I've started to paste those up on the streets. They almost don't look like letters, you know, they could just be symbols, I suppose. I've put no association with them at all. And the idea is that I build this kind of fascination, this interest that people don't associate with the kind of Under the My Dog's Eyes moniker, but are these quiet little voices out on the streets of Southsea and Portsmouth. Everybody's being so patient in waiting, and then that adds the pressure of, you know, is their expectation rising? I think it's the most exciting thing I've done. I think it's definitely pushed the boundaries for me personally, it's pushed the boundaries for me creatively, and to sit on sculptures and paintings and installation ideas and lighting and sound, and I'm kind of offload it in a mass when it opens up, and that's exciting, but it has taken some adjustment. This is a year and a half's worth of keeping things under wraps. Maybe it'll get a at the end of it, and I will retreat into a hole. I hope not. I hope people kind of realise how much I've put into it. Yeah, I really do. big pigeon. It's got pigeon shit on the top, brilliant. Got this idea for these wooden pallet wood dome type things. Note to self, remember to speak to David Chippy about the tents, the structures. One of the things we realised when we moved into the space is that no matter how big I build the sculptures, they get lost in a space like this. So I felt it really important to try and fill the space and make it quite magical. I'm working on, we've kind of nicknamed them the wooden igloos. My quiet little voices need a nest. They need somewhere to live in a space. He's helped me realise little sketches into reality, so it's been great using sort of found materials where we can and starting to build something which is organic in the space, which has been really exciting. Although it looks a little bit like the Millennium Falcon at the moment, the idea is that it will be wrapped in found materials, so I'm skip raiding as much as I possibly can for timber and pallets and pulling those apart, and that these are going to be these huge, lovely, organic spaces that are our nests that the quiet little voices live inside. A big thing like this is a real boost, I think, to how I'm feeling about it, and I just can't wait now to getting this kind of massive nest built inside this cavernous space. I think it's going to have quite an impact as people walk through the door to wonder what on earth it is and what it's doing here and how it's landed. And I'm living every moment, from the language to what they wear to what they do to how they live and how they act. We are surrounded by people that are homeless, that have no space, that are kind of lost, and yet alongside these people we have these spaces that are lost. And what I want to do is to use these quiet little voices as a way of mirroring this lost spaces and lost people. And these quiet little voices are doing what I suppose some people are doing or should be doing, which is they've come in and they've taken over this space, turned it into a home, an environment, an existence. It's quite exciting to see this empty, beautiful space, but this empty space starting to fill, and I think every time I walk in and I put something in there, I realise I spent a lot of time at the beginning just wandering in and sat down and looking and thinking, and thinking is just such a huge part of what I do, but you can't get away with just thinking, you've got to do as well. It's quite exciting to walk around this corner at the top of the stairs and walk into the room now and see these huge edifices, these structures that make a hint of what's going to happen inside when all the sculptures are in and everything's open. It's so nice to be able to walk into that room and see something which is physical and there, and this thing that's come out of my head is starting to become reality. Building huge sculptures is so new, and it's been a fascinating exploration. It's been a challenge for sure, and it's kind of pushing my understanding of how to do things. But I suppose a bit like when I end up with a 00 brush and I'm painting a 4-story wall, I just can't get away from making sure
that those really intricate details are still there. I think when you work with really, really tiny details, you'll force the viewer to have a much, much closer relationship. They have to get really, really close to it. So, I'm creating pigeon-like creatures in here and carefully inserting tiny, tiny feathers and still painting those minuscule reflections in the same way that I would when I paint on a can. Although it will be a shared experience for people walking in here and they are immersed in it, they also have the opportunity to kind of, almost like a macro lens, to get closer and closer and closer and begin to see those details. So forget everybody around you, forget everything around you, and you focus in on the intricacies. When we are, I think, exactly 2 months before we are due to open. So it's suddenly become really, really real. It's been a sort of abstract experience before then, just busying away and doing things. But we've got dates and thinking about tickets and how we're going to tell everybody. So it's properly real. We're in the bar, at various stages through the project. We weren't even talking about getting people in, but we definitely didn't think that we would be able to open it up. I kept walking past it, not really knowing what was going on, and just had that brainwave inspired by those scabby and beautiful New York fire exit doors that you see when you're walking around, and pulled in the local graph guys, gave them as much beer and paint and pizza as I could, and we've got this crazy space to actually celebrate the event when it opens. Yeah, that's crazy to think that it's going to open and there are going to be people in here. Making that decision to open now puts the pressure on to provide not just the installation upstairs, but also a substantial exhibition downstairs. Yeah, I've added a massive amount of pressure as far as trying to produce work, but there are bits in there that I think will flow so nicely from leaving the installation and walking downstairs and then stepping into this other aspect. It's like 2 shows in one, and I've just added a full big solo show, as big as ever I've produced before, as an add-on to an installation, which is something that I've never done before. So yeah, I've just doubled my workload. I think it's driving me forward. And thinking about design and merchandise and theming and branding are all these little tiny elements that help pulling it together to make it seem it's becoming a whole story, it's becoming an experience.
We released the tickets. This is the day after releasing the tickets. Released them at 7 o'clock last night. It stressed me out too much, so I went to the pub. But overnight, we sold 2,000 tickets. Yeah, 1,000 in the first 15 minutes, which was just crazy. To know that all the hard work is something that people do want to come and see has been off the chart. So we are actually gonna get people in. There we go. Right, that's me done. I can get on, get some more work done.
I've never spent such a long period of time working on one single project. Wow, a year and a half. You always get to the end of an exhibition, that kind of just about to open the doors, and that last painting you're painting is the one that inspires you into the next show. And I've been able to kind of follow that circle in here. There are things that I did when I first came in here that have evolved. This extension, this forced extension that COVID has brought in, has actually given me time to think of new things, and I've seen a development in the quality of my work from the stuff that I did when I first walked in here and first started preparing stuff. That's what an art show is. It's a punctuation in an artist's journey. After a bit of a rest, at the end of it all, the last few things that I've done in here are going to be the inspiration for me to move forwards, and what I do, I don't know, but to do the next thing that is in the story of My Dog's Size. The reason I wanted to build this throne and put a quiet little voice on the top is this show is built on the tower of my life, and every artist that opens an exhibition, the work that's in there is the peak of the point of their life. This show is my throne. This is everything that I've ever done before, pulled together and built on a massive throne for me to sit on, and that's what this represents. There's a poem behind it which actually, if you can work out the My Dog-Sized language, tells you how and why I built this throne, how this throne was built on the tower of my life. Feels like it's just been the most crazy journey. It's taken so much longer than it ever was planned to be, but that's given me time to do so much more than I ever thought I could. It's crazy, I'm not going to lie, it feels quite emotional to sit here and to see everything that's been in my head finally here in the space, lit up with voices and lights and just all together. I must admit, a couple of days ago I came up here, set the music going, set the lights going, pulled up a chair and just sat, and I'm not embarrassed to admit that I blubbed like a baby. It was kind of the pulling together of everything that's happened, everything that's kind of led up to this, the highs and the lows and the kind of the points where you don't think you're getting anywhere, and then just to see in the last couple of weeks that it's all come together. Yeah, I blubbed like a baby and laughed at the same time, which was a really, really funny thing. The kind of madness of what, why did I start this journey again? What was this all about? Was this realistic? Is this the right thing to do? I still wanted to keep the aesthetic. I didn't want to tidy it up and turn it into a really nice building. So, you look on the other side of the fences, all those thousands of smashed mirrors that were here when I arrived, that had been smashed up by whoever had kind of broken in before, are still there. That's what it was like. That was what was really exciting for me, to, the sound of walking on crunched, broken glass is, it's just something that I think for the rest of my life I'm going to love, and it's going to instantly take me back to what it was like when I first walked in here. Yeah, when the door opens and people first walk in, I think there's a fear. There's an expectation and anticipation maybe from the public about what they're going to see. I hope and dream that it gains some positive reaction. It's here, it's in place, it's ready to go. You know, I've done everything I can do. I've ploughed everything into this. There is nothing more. I'm an empty shell. Yeah, I hope people can appreciate what I'm trying to do, the stories I'm trying to tell, and they walk away affected by that in a positive way, I hope.
After a grueling journey of nearly 2 years, not the 6 months he'd expected, Paul is finally ready to open the doors to the public. He battled funding failures, COVID lockdowns and break-ins. He learned how to build epic sculptures, invent a new alphabet and create a light and soundscape. He probably learned a number of survival skills too. And it's just as well he did. 10,000 tickets have been sold.
It was just incredible to watch people step into this world, people that, you know, have known something's been happening but not really sure what, and then finally the dawning realisation for them of what it is that I've been running around frantically pulling together over the last few years. To hear the gasps as people did finally get to the top of the scabby staircase and look into that room it was pretty special. The most incredible flood of people. We had 10 slots a day over 16 days. You know, I got through the first slot on that private view night, and you know, we got 100 people in, and it was like, whoa, that was just so emotionally charged, it was so exciting, it was just so full on. And then they kind of left, and it was like, I'm doing this 10 times a day, every day for 16 days, and the realization that I had to dig massively deep, because you know, the energy involved in welcoming all those people in and seeing them look at it for the first time was just incredible. But equally, it floored me. It floored me emotionally. It floored me just watching how people came in, and you know, the emotions that were released from people. Maybe it was the fact that there hasn't been a cultural experience for many people for 2 years. You know, there were lots of tears. There were lots of people that were really quite emotionally moved by it, and I wasn't expecting that. I knew I wanted to be there. I knew I wanted to see everyone experience it, but I didn't know kind of what my part was in that. It was different, really different from group to group, but it was sometimes really fascinating. You know, some people really wanted you to talk through the seed of the project, the idea, how it came about, what each of the sculptures and the paintings represented. And there were others that were just happy to wander and absorb and soak it up and build their own narratives. Average age of, you know, some groups was 75, and they were fascinated and intrigued. They were, you know, intrigued at the building. Some had recollections of the building, had kind of been here as youth. There were little tiny kids in reins that were running around. I mean, there were babes in arms that were just lost in that glitter ball. I met boxers who'd had their first professional boxing match up there. I met people who were spat on by their favourite punk bands, and those people that were just reeling off band after band after band in the 60s, and how you'd come and you'd get 4 bands, one of which was Eric Clapton and one of which was Manfred Mann, and there's just this, realised quite how much of a history this building had. They were bunny girls here, and they talked about how in their bunny outfits they would catch the bus down, and here I am taking over a space that I kind of thought of as lost, but for so many people it was so much more than a lost building. It held huge memories for people, and I think for them it was kind of as fascinating to come and see what I'd done with it as it was to actually just get in the building and remember really special times for them. That was completely unexpected, but so powerful, really, really powerful. Really old lady who I actually met outside, and she said, "Oh, are they restoring Kimball's? That's lovely." And I had to explain that I wasn't actually restoring it, but I was putting an exhibition on. And she told me the story of how when she was 18, she met her late husband up there, and then how they had their wedding breakfast there, and then every Saturday they would go to a dinner dance, and you could just see her face just drift back into times long gone past. And she was telling me that the waiters in their dicky bows and the silver service and the linen tablecloths, and she was just so back in that place. And then just really, really threw me, she said our place was always directly under the glitter ball. We would dance when the band were on the stage underneath the glitter ball, and that was our space. There I am with a glitter ball in the corner of the room and my dancers on the stage. It was just so massively poignant, and it was just so, it's so exciting to realise that this building, way beyond my experience of using it, had this huge narrative. I've been talking to them about it and what they thought about me using this space, and they thought it was really wonderful that the building had, even if it was just for a short period of time, some new life back into it. They were grateful they could get in and see it, but equally they were excited to see that it had a new story. If it was just short, just for a few weeks, it had a new story. So it was an honour that they felt like that, and they didn't feel that I was just, making a mockery of their history. It wasn't just about hanging work on the wall. It was about removing me from the story and creating a space, a magical space, where My Dog's Eyes is this community. And once I built up the idea that there's a community living in this space, it kind of led into what was going to happen within the space. Well, if there's a community living here that represent My Dog's Eyes, there needs to be someone who's busy painting cans. And so on the stage, I knew that the can painter would be there, and he would be busying away and painting the cans just in the same way that I do. If we've got the cans, we need the everyman. So where within this space would fit a workshop where the everyman would be busy and working and painting and creating all the paste-ups that you see around on the streets in the city. So the everyman room arrived. And it was kind of bit by bit as I worked my way through, I kind of thought about what a community called My Dog's Eyes is and what they do here and what they represent. And so it was about kind of representing all those elements of the human condition. And so on the panels on the walls, you've got this representation of the journey of learning how to paint eyes. These quiet little voices had to go through that journey. So the first panel is a simple handprint on a wall. The second panel is what happens if we pick up a paintbrush and try and represent an eye just really, really with a simple icon. And then it developed into more painterly until eventually it worked its way through to, those beautiful painted eyes that, I've got to now. But also the materials changed. So it's scabby bits of cardboard to start with, and then bits of wood that I found within the building, or the quiet little voices found, this kind of story, and then moves on to things like metal and concrete, because these are materials as a street artist that I'm used to working with. Finally, in the corner, the kind of piece of the show, which is on a beautifully stretched canvas with gold leaf frame around the outside. So you've got this progression that works its way through. Romance, love is an important part for all of us. So we have the lovers on the swing in the back corner, and they're whispering to each other and, just keeping each other going. the dancers on the stage, because those moments of kind of preciousness are there. And it began to evolve into the use of the space. And the space is big, it's cavernous, and if I was these quiet little voices and I was going to live in this space, I wouldn't want to just kind of lie down on the floor and go to sleep. I'd want something to cocoon myself in. So that's where these crazy pods came about. They were that hug, that blanket, that cosy space that these quiet little voices can live in and occupy. So it was building loads of different stories within one space so that you can step into this world and realise that it's completely self-contained. These creatures aren't ordering their things they need from Amazon. They're raiding skips and they're finding bits that they can find within the building. When I was sat here on my own for the first few months, I wasn't on my own. I was surrounded by a community of pigeons living in here. When they went, I was kind of missed them. Missed that, the flying around my head and them living in a space. And these pigeons kind of represented birds in general, represent the idea of being able to sort of fly off and do something new and explore places. And so that's where these little can bird creatures, that's how they occupy the space, and that's why they occupy the space. We wear masks and we try and be things that sometimes that we're not, because that's where we want to be in life. And these beaked cans, these beaked birds represent that wanting to move forwards, pulling on that element of them not being perfect, but wanting to try their best, wanting to live their best life as a community. As an artist, we represent elements of society. We want people to question how they live and the way that they live. That's what I think art is. For me, these pieces are doing that. They're asking people to walk into this space and consider their own existence, their own life. How do they live? How do they live as a community? How do we live as a community? How can we sustain the way that we use materials? How do we get on with each other? How do we try? It was absolutely nothing like stepping into that space, that feeling, this space, seeing the lights change, experiencing the sculptures on your terms as you move around and you decide to build that story. I got to a point where I just had to make it open, but that has to be financially viable. There isn't a bottomless pit of money, and a project like this is massive. It's huge. It's just hugely expensive. With the support of Angela, project managing, we realised that downstairs where we are now, the merch bar, the sales area, is a way of making upstairs happen. I wanted those kids to be able to come in from school groups and community groups and people to experience it. I really wanted it to be free, but we just weren't able to get to the stage where it was free. But we made it as affordable as we could. It has to fund itself in some way. This whole process has happened through lockdown, and for huge chunks of time the world lived in a different way. They were inside. It's kind of the irony of me putting a show on as we're beginning to open up and people are being able to go outside, that I'm putting on, as an outside painter, that I'm putting on a show that's called Inside and asking people to come in and look. But I think we've all reassessed the way that we live. We all have realised the importance of a place that we call home, if we've got that, and how that is a massive comfort blanket to us. I suppose I can't help but incorporate that into what was going on. It must have affected me in a way that made me consider the importance of having these really, really cosy spaces that the creatures would live in. Had I made the show when COVID didn't exist, would that have happened? I don't know. Maybe they would have not needed a cosy space. Maybe I didn't realise the importance of home and the importance of being inside and the importance of being sort of safe. every session of every day over those 16 days, being in that room and talking to people. And don't underestimate how physically and emotionally demanding that is, but it's been so rewarding to see people read the work and give them chance to explain that to me. And if I'd opened the door on the been there for the private view and then wandered off again, like happens in most exhibitions, I would have missed those opportunities, and I would have missed those stories and missed seeing how people connected to the work. And as an artist, what do you want? You want people to have a strong connection. There are so many different stories I've heard. There was a guy that he was looking at these pods, and at a certain point in the show, all the lights go down and the pods glow. And he looked at me and he said, "That's lockdown. That pod is all about lockdown." He said how I wanted to be at home in my house and safe, and the outside world was a scary place, but home was safe and warm and enveloping. We were kind of pulling a duvet up over our head. That is what it is. It is what it represents. So I learned so much about myself and about my work through the eyes of other people. Something so big as this has kind of consumed me. Although creatively it's been fantastic to focus and work so hard towards something has to give, right? And mental health, physical well-being, the ability to sleep, the ability to focus on anything have all been massively affected. And I've heard artists say this about big projects, and you kind of look at them and listen to them and nod, but I'd have no idea that it would consume me in the way that it is. Nothing that I've done up until now has consumed me, just literally consumed me for this period of time.
This is it.
I'm looking forward to being part of my family again. What are the things that are really, really important to you in life? For me, it's that utopia. It's about recognising the fact that they all want the same thing. They all want community, to be recognised for the things that they love, their passion. The fact that everybody there, this community that we're living in this space, we're recognising and celebrating everyone's strengths. I was talking to loads of school kids who just thought the baby in the pram was hilarious. In the shopping trolley, these guys aren't, creating loads of new waste. They need somewhere to put the baby that they can move around and the baby's comfortable in. They've done that with a shopping trolley. That Jenga that's on the floor, it's bits of the parquet flooring that I pulled up and painted. The things that are hanging that he's playing with are bits of the piano, the inside of a piano that I found. Where are we in society? Where are our priorities? And I think it was a statement about, I feel that they've got it. I feel that they're the kind of utopian, as much as there's peeling paint and it's scabby and dirty and it smells a little bit, they've got all those things that I feel that somehow we're missing. What are my priorities? Where should my priorities be as far as society and community goes? When we first applied for the Arts Council, we were trying to work out how we could make our bid strong. And one of the things that was raised was, community engagement and how we can get people, from the city who maybe don't have lots of cultural experiences in. And we sat, very carefully and planned how we were going to do that, how we could put an education pack together, how we could get school groups in and people within the community that wouldn't normally visit an exhibition. I realised how valuable this could be as a resource for the city, so I did make the decision that I would fund the education packs and I would still release 1,000 tickets into the community. We advertised that and tried to get as many people as we possibly could. There was just so many different groups of people. We had school kids in that had never been into a gallery before, never been to an exhibition before, and were just almost running around to the point of sort of screaming at the excitement of what was going on. A school for girls that were at risk of being excluded, so they had various kind of educational needs and behavioural needs. They were amazing. They asked all those questions that everybody wants to ask but everyone's afraid to ask. But these girls were just totally just totally enthralled. And then at the end of them, one of them said to me, "This is your job. You know, you do this as a job." And it was just like, yeah, I do. It's amazing. It's an incredible job. And and it was just so nice to see them realise that that's possible. So we've just had the last of the public leave the building. It's the space is empty. It's I spent the last 16 days talking to so many people. We had storms and the power was knocked out. We were mopping up everything that was leaking, but I don't think it's stopped it being the most incredible project. Funny, the first few days it just kept welling up when people walked in. When people reacted emotionally, it kind of spread. It's definitely been a crazy journey. That puffing out that cheek thing again. Blimey. There we go. That was inside. There we go. Now it's finished. It's a really strange one. I'm broken. I mean, just physically a shell. And I put everything into getting the doors open, and I thought, that's it. That's brilliant. That's, you know, that's where I needed to be. And then realising that actually I've got to get through 16 10 to 15 hour days straight without a break. And then we got to Sunday, and I was chatting to people, and it was just like, oh my God, this is the last time I'm going to get to do this. It's the last time I'm going to get to show everyone that space and be super proud of what's going on. We got to the end of Sunday and realised, we've got to get rid of everything. We've got to break it down. You know, we've got security for a few more days, and then everything in here has to be stripped down. And what's going to happen to it? Is it going to go into a skip? Is it going to, you know, is it going to go forwards? Luckily, we had some great sales, and a lot of the work is sold, and so I'm taking things off the wall, feeling, you know, relief and proud that someone is wanting to support me and buy a piece of work and hang it on the wall. I'm watching the Olympics at the moment. You see these guys winning their gold medal, and it's just that moment of absolute joy. And I've had it in peaks when I've been in that room and I've been chatting to people, and then as I was talking, I've been turning around and realising all 45 people in the room had actually stopped what they were looking at and coming and listening, and were just utterly enthralled by what was going on, or seeing everyone in the room do the opposite to that and just be staring at the work, or excitedly pointing something to their friends, come and have a look at this, look at that, it's amazing, it's amazing. Those were just amazing highs. That's why I wanted to have some sort of legacy. That's why the book is so important and the film is so important, because come Wednesday this week, I'm going to be locking that padlock doors and giving the keys back to the building owner, and looking into a strange void, I suppose. It's you know, that leads to that point that everybody made when they walked through the space. I don't know whether it was out of politeness or because they couldn't think of a different question, but it was that question. So, what are you doing next?
Well, after 2 years of inside, my dog size was happy to be back outside. He travelled the UK to give talks about the show, and as Paul was a teacher in his previous life, it was natural for him to give school workshops based on inside educational packs that he'd produced. And of course, he painted murals wherever he went. Today, schools are still inspiring kids to be creative using the inside educational packs. In Cardiff, he painted a mural tribute to Ukraine that went viral. and released a fundraising print that raised £48,000 for Ukrainian charities. There's no let up for my dog size. This year he's been busier than ever, including creating an epic treasure hunt which saw over 35,000 hunters searching for £50,000 worth of his art treasure. A big issue collaboration, and we hear that he's cooking up another epic secret project. Let's hope it goes a bit more smoothly than inside.